Hey, I'm FTFE and welcome back to the channel that removes all the carbon monoxide detectors from Stupidity's poorly built studio apartment. Seriously, I can't keep up with the stupid that Riley pumps out. Every time I've finished writing a script, I check his channel and he's released at least 3 new steaming nuggets of stupid onto the doorstep of the internet. So you guys get another Sleeping Warrior video. Yay. I guess. But I can't do it alone. It's not good for my mental health to keep listening to all the stupid Leaky Warrior puts out. So I decided to get some help from a stick man.
Hello everyone.
Yes, Professor Stick will be helping me out as we give Riley his 6th time being the subject of stupid in episode 35 of Flerfs Are Idiots.
We're living on a disc, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Thank you for joining me once again for a look at what happens when children are dropped on their head repeatedly. Before we get going, in case you've been living under a rock and didn't know, Sleeping Warrior is my nomination for Red Rhetoric's annual Dumb Fuck of the Year award. To cast your vote and get Riley the win he finally deserves, hit this link and either like or dislike the video it takes you to, and on January the 6th, 2020, come to the announcements on Red Rhetoric's channel. Of course, Clucking Warrior got wind of his nomination and tried to derail the enthusiasm for him taking the top spot by releasing an application video. But in typical #classic Riley fashion, he failed hard and made one of the funniest videos I've ever seen. That might sound good, but remember, we're laughing at him and not with him.
It's been brought to my attention recently that there is an award going around on a religious fanatics YouTube channel, awarding people for what they describe as a Dumb Fuck of the Year award. Apparently, I've been nominated.
Right off the bat with classic Riley dishonesty, because you've known about this for at least 4 years, ever since your first nomination where you came 10th. The next 2 years you came 2nd, but this year you've got it in the bag. Please carry on. Every word out of your dumb mouth makes it more likely that you're going to win.
Apparently, I've been nominated, and I found this reference on my channel recently regarding my current status. So what I thought I would do would be announce my official running for this so-called Dumb Fuck of the Year award.
Man, you're stupid as hell. You get everything wrong. You don't apply for Dumb Fuck of the Year. You get nominated. You were mine, Sean Hufford's, and Dead Kennedy in Space's official nomination. Check out the link in the description for the full nomination show.
And I would describe my attributes for why I should have this wonderful accolade. 1 to go on the old CV.
Yeah, right next to failed lawyer and failed mini cab owner.
So please consider this video to be my attempt, my application, my desire to be awarded this highly prestigious accolade. Oh shit. I got a minute.
You've got the fucking Union flag upside fucking down, you dense motherfucker. You can't get anything right.
Okay. So, when I went to university, I learnt numerous things in my degree.
I dispute that, but please go on.
I learnt the law of evidence, and I learnt that thou shall not accept shitty evidence. I also learnt that thou shall question shitty evidence. I read lots of law books on evidence, and I learnt which evidence is considered to be better than other evidence that is not considered to be good. And in the end, I completed my degree.
You finished your law degree, but can't figure out the word you mean is thou, not thy. Also, you're not, nor have you ever been, in the military, so stop saluting, you look like a pleb. Also, no one in the UK salutes like that. That's American saluting.
Eventually, I ended up completing or furthering my education, where I went to a second university where I learned more about evidence. And I learned things like employment law, intellectual property, personal injury. I learned things like criminal law. I also learned more about evidence. I did employment law, I did family law, I did commercial law, I did real estate law. And in the end, I completed my legal practice course.
And none of that relates to science in any way, and doesn't help argue with people that are much more knowledgeable about science than you, and it definitely does not help you decide what is and isn't good evidence for the shape of the Earth when you don't understand the science on which that evidence is based.
Some years after my degree, I learned that I should not abuse the word science in this topic. I learned that I shall adhere to scientific method in this topic.
The scientific method, sleeping dumb fuck. The scientific method, not just scientific method. You can't even get basic language right. And trust me, you abuse the word science worse than Nathan Oakley abuses his kid.
I learnt that I shall not accept any old shit as evidence, and that I should not preach any religion without satisfactory evidence to prove my shite to be true.
You want to prove your shite to be true? Why would you want to do that? Right, let's start with your attempts at science. Prove any of that makes any sense at all. Because you won't, and you have never been able to.
Being nominated for this award by religious fundamentalist zealots is not an insult. It emphasises the level of brainwashing and dumb fuckery of this heliocentric religion.
Yeah, we aren't religious. Flat Earth is more like a religion, even more like a cult. And Red's Rhetoric is the one who created the Dumb Fuck of the Year award. And he says that he sexually identifies as an attack helicopter. That doesn't sound very religious to me.
The state religion for the UK is not Christian or Catholic or Muslim. It's heliocentrism. It's heliocentric. That is a religion. And these morons that are all worshipping whatever god that they consider to be God is no different to the heliocentric narrative, preaching this bullshit nonsense to people that otherwise don't know any better.
That's what we have education for. So people that want to can know better. You not understanding something doesn't mean it isn't true, and you being a bona fide fucking idiot ding does not make people that understand science religious.
I realised that I should not preach any religion without satisfactory evidence to prove that my shite is true. So this Dumb Fuck of the Year award that is being presented, or suggested, or nominated, is nothing more than propaganda to influence people that otherwise can't think for themselves. And if these people that are otherwise religious and fanatic and zealotry people think that this is some kind of award, then vote for me. I represent everything that you people can't stand, and I'm proud that I can think critically, I can use my own brain, and I can realise that there is no evidence for curvature.
No evidence for curvature? Are you sure? Well, what's this then? Or this? Or this?
There is no evidence for axial rotation.
Bob?
If the Earth is spinning at one rotation every 24 hours, that means that every hour it has to turn 15 degrees. And if the gyroscope is mounted anywhere on Earth, it's going to drift. In today's 21st century navigation systems, they're using what's called a ring laser gyroscope. It is extremely precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift.
There is no evidence for gravity.
Well, I'd agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong.
First, we weigh a small lead pyramid to measure the force of attraction between it and the Earth. Its weight is 152.166 grams. Now we move the heavy lead ball under the scale, adding its mass to the mass of the Earth. The weight has increased by 1/1000th of a gram, which represents the attraction between the pyramid and the ball.
There is no evidence for the radius of the Earth in the third dimension.
You should really search up P and S waves.
And there is no evidence for a gas pressure existing next to a vacuum without some kind of container or membrane.
Again, that's just plainly false. Nuclear fusion kind of does exactly that, as in current fusion chambers, which are a vacuum of around 10 to the negative 11 torr, and have a ball of ionized gas which has a pressure in the middle of that vacuum without a physical container. Just some clever electrical and magnetic forces keeping that gas pressure contained in a vacuum without a physical barrier.
And I realised that ultimately the astrologies and the zoologies and the Timbuktuologies don't even have the ability to comply with scientific method.
The scientific method, you basket case. The scientific method.
Yeah, you morons all think that this is considered to be science. Well, I got news for you guys. It isn't. And if you think you guys can vote for me because that makes me a dumb fuck, then do it.
And we will, because you really are the dumbfuckiest of dumbfucks. You can't even mock us correctly. You fail at everything.
So let's try another one. We have the Macmillan British Dictionary says mass, and then it says in plural masses, which again is my position. This is supporting my assertion that mass is the singular molecule. It's not the collective, it's the singular. Masses, plural, a lot of. Well, we know that there's a lot of particles there, isn't it? There's got to be plurality there. There can't be singularity, can there? Even if it's inside a box, which would be our position. So, again, let's go back to the next one. Columbia, doesn't say anything there, it's to do with religion. Oxford, oddly, doesn't say anything there. Cambridge Dictionary, it says a larger amount of something that has no particular shape or arrangement. It doesn't say some things, plural, it says something. So that something would be one of these. It wouldn't be all of these, because that would be some things, plural, okay? So, I've gone through there. There's 4 there, 5, 6, 7 there, 8, and then there's a base. That's 9. 9 things there that indicate that mass is singular. Masses would be plural. This is devastating if you believe that atmospheric pressure is the explanation on their model, because even if you've got gravity, and you haven't really got gravity, have you? It's not bendy space-time, but even if you've got gravity, that ticks that bit there. But you need the mass bit, and you haven't got the mass because it doesn't say masses, it says mass. So if you haven't got mass and you haven't really got gravity either, then you've definitely not got atmospheric pressure, because you need atmospheric pressure satisfying the definition. Satisfying atmospheric pressure is weight over unit area. Well, you haven't got weight, so therefore you haven't got atmospheric pressure. And that's before you even get to unit area. If you look up what area is, it doesn't even apply to this, because area is defined. There is no definition to an infinite vacuum of space, is there? And that's what they tell us that we're living in, an infinite vacuum of space. So atmospheric pressure is equal to weight over unit area. Unit area isn't a unit area when it's infinite, and weight doesn't have any mass to it, even if we give you gravity. Atmospheric pressure seems to be nothing more than a calculative correction to their model for them realising that they don't have gas pressure.
And now it's time to pass you over to the smartest two-dimensional stick figure I know, Professor Stick, as Anthony Riley misunderstands atmospheric pressure.
Hello everyone, thanks to Fight the Flat Earth for having me on today. It's truly an honor and I'm happy to be here. As he mentioned already, I think, this is part of a collaboration we're doing, so you can find the next video in the description below. Anyway, in regards to this video, Sleeping Warrior is going to give us a little demonstration on how atmospheric pressure should work. Let's have a look.
Gas pressure simulator. So what we'll try and do, here's the simulator, so you click on it. And we've played with this before, planet, temperature. Right, so first off, you have to knock off the gravity because we know gravity is in effect. And we know that the temperature varies, but it's really cold in space, but there's a massive differential between the vacuum of space temperature and our temperature. So we can basically turn that up, and basically it's not misrepresenting what happens because we know what happens. We know the fact is the atmosphere is a lot warmer than it is in space, but that's what happens on their model.
I absolutely love how you just casually took away gravity as if nothing happened, and then you go on a small rant about temperature, which is irrelevant here, in order to distract us from the fact that you just turned off gravity. Excellent. Haven't you been reading comments, watching anti-flat earth videos, or anything along those lines? The answer to your concern about the air particles floating into space and creating zero pressure is gravity. The simulation you are using here is defaulted to what it looks like on the actual Earth, so of course it starts with gravity on.
Not only without gravity being a force, but that's what happens because there's no containment. That's the multiplying by infinity. You are literally seeing what happens with the multiplication of infinity.
Yes, if there were a container, then the molecules wouldn't be floating away. But that's not the only way to contain air molecules. Gravity is another way to do that. Of course, depending on which one you use, the behavior of these air molecules would be different. A container, for example, would make it so the air pressure is even throughout. I assume that on your flat Earth model, you propose that the dome acts like a container. Well, if that were the case, then the air pressure at sea level would be the same as that on top of Mount Everest. This is clearly not the case. The top of Mount Everest is about 250 millimeters of mercury, which is a third compared to sea level at 760 millimeters of mercury. That's why the top of Mount Everest is quite dangerous due to this low air pressure. A container with no gravity does not support this because the pressure would be uniform throughout. Gravity, on the other hand, does create a gradient. It's hard to visualize this in the simulation you showed us, so here's another simulation written in Python code that someone by the channel named Taper Science sent to me. As can be seen, when there's gas in the container, it spreads evenly throughout. That's because there's nothing there that causes a bias in terms of air pressure. If you remove the upper wall, then the air molecules flow out. This is what you would expect it to be like if gravity didn't exist. But once gravity is turned on, you can clearly see how many of the air molecules begin to sink downwards. This causes a pressure increase towards the bottom while reducing the pressure towards the top. And from the histogram on the right side, you can see how there is a clear gradient. The higher you go, the lower the pressure. Notice how the top of the container is still left open. This is what happens on Earth. There's no need for a lid or a container at the top to stop the gas molecules from flying out to space, because gravity exists. This also makes sense with the air pressure difference we see on different altitudes. The higher you go, the lower the air pressure. Hopefully that cleared up some stuff for you, but since you're a flat earther, I doubt you actually understood what just happened.
What the ball earthers argue, well, we don't have gas pressure, we have atmospheric pressure.
I don't know who would use that as a counter-argument.
The fact that they have atmospheric pressure is an admission that gas pressure doesn't work on their model.
Saying that it's atmospheric pressure instead of gas pressure is a pretty bad point, and I don't agree with that argument whatsoever. Anyway, another piece of evidence that gravity is the answer to this question is the composition of air. See, air molecules don't all move at the same speed. Some are faster, some are slower. But it's the average speed that usually matters. Kind of like temperature. There are always molecules that have more energy and some that have less, but what we feel as temperature is the average of it all. Same with air molecule speed, but that doesn't mean there aren't stationary ones, and that doesn't mean there aren't ones that travel incredibly fast, because they exist. In fact, some of them are able to travel faster than Earth's escape velocity, 11.2 kilometers per second. That's the speed you need in order to escape Earth's gravitational pull. We use this a lot when we think about NASA rockets, but it applies to air too. So every so often you'll have a gas molecule that just reaches escape velocity and is able to escape into the emptiness of space. Of course, the vast majority of molecules cannot do this, but the ones that have a higher chance are lighter molecules such as hydrogen and helium. They are more commonly the ones that escape into space, and that's why our air composition is very scarce when it comes to partial pressure of hydrogen and helium. They hardly exist in our atmosphere at all because a lot of them tend to escape Earth's gravitational pull, while the heavier ones like nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide stay.
And basically this demonstrates that where you've got gas pressure and a divide, a barrier, the vacuum of space, the pressure that's in here will immediately equalise. Now imagine that this didn't have any volume and it was the infinite vacuum of space, and this then basically burst into it. Watch what happens. We know what happens. It immediately fills the volume, and that's why it says immediately pop goes your model.
Alright man, it's just kind of annoying how you completely dismiss gravity despite that being the clear answer to your question. There's no doubt that pressure differences tends to seek an equilibrium, but you have to understand that that's not the only thing at play. Other forces exist, and you still have yet to explain to us how there can be a pressure gradient on a flat earth inside a dome anyway with no gravity. Why is the pressure at the top of Mount Everest a third of what it is at sea level? It's just not physically possible in your own model, so I suggest correcting that first before criticizing the actual accurate model of the Earth. Anyway, that's my time. Thank you to everyone for sitting through my boring rant. I'm Professor Stick, and you can find me in the description below, I think. As well as the next part to our collaboration over at my channel. Fight the Flat Earth joins me on some juicy stuff, such as how a flat earther somehow demonstrated a coin disappearing over a flat table and bringing it back into view again by zooming in. Alright, I'll see you guys over there. Thanks again for having me on.
Thank you, Professor Stick, for helping me prove that Sleeping Warrior is really stupid. But just in case you guys watching are not convinced, here is some extra proof of his stupidity.
So, before we get to a definition for atmospheric pressure, let's have a look at some comments. I'm going to pick on this one particular troll. He's a well-known troll. He's on a soccer account. I won't credit him with his real name, but he's well-known. He doesn't want to speak to me personally. He does. I don't want to glorify this real troll account.
You think that's me, don't you, Leaky? Yes, you do, because you said it in comments before. Yes, I want to speak to you, but you won't speak to me until I agree gravity isn't a force. You say because I won't agree with you, I'm the most dishonest baller there is. Please, Riley, show me on the globe where gravity touched you.
He starts off with this one that says, nobody's claiming that. Basically, gravity's not a force, you need a container, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's containing that. That's just your straw man argument. Atmospheric pressure doesn't need a container. Why are you incapable of understanding that? 21 morons had liked that comment. Sleeping Warrior, atmospheric pressure. Noun, the pressure exerted by the weight of the atmosphere, which at sea level has a mean value of blah. Where does that weight come from? Well, that is the reason why I'm doing this video.
You don't need to do the video. We know where the weight comes from. Everyone knows where the weight comes from, apart from you. And whether you want to call it a force, like Newton, or the curvature of space-time, like Einstein, the answer is still the same. Yeah, you know, I couldn't go a whole Sleeping Warrior video without bringing him in. Desert File, what's causing the weight?
Gravity, you fucking retard! Gravity! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity? Gravity! Gravity!
Ben Adams, no, the pressure decreases. Why doesn't the atmosphere rush up towards the top of Everest? High pressure goes to low pressure, remember? Yeah, only on your model does it do that.
Wait, what? No. On our model, atmospheric pressure does not do that, as the atmosphere is held to the globe by gravity. It's your model, such that there is, that has no explanation for the pressure gradient.
It doesn't do that in our world though, does it? The gradient exists. We all know the gradient exists. But on your model, high pressure goes to low pressure always. Because you haven't got anything to stop it. You've got no resistance against it.
Yes, we do. Fuck's sake.
Gravity!
On your model, you have the 14.7 at sea level, and that is pushing up. And the 13.7 psi above it is also pushing up. So is the 12.7, so is the 11.7, and the more violent the pressure is, the bigger the pressure, the more violent that force is. 10.7, 9.7, 8.7, 6.7, all them are getting less and less pressure, but they're still pushing up against or into that vacuum on your model.
Except that you've just debunked your own theory by admitting there is a gradient, because you don't need a physical barrier between, say, 14.7 psi and 14.6 psi. So why, as you approach the edge of our atmosphere, do you need a barrier between 0.1 psi and 0.09 psi? You can't claim the gradient is there, but also demand that we need a physical barrier to stop our atmosphere flying off into space.
You haven't got a container to stop it, and you haven't got a force to stop it either. But for the sake of this conversation, we're going to give you your force. But let's see where it progresses to.
You don't need to give us a force, it's just there. But yes, let's see where this takes you.
Weight's defined as mass times little g. Little g isn't a force, so what are you multiplying? Fuck all? Nobody said little g is a force. Well, actually, you all say it's a force. It's acceleration. Right, so if a mass accelerates, then it's a force. something's doing that, because by virtue of F equals ma, if you got an accelerated mass, you have a force. An acceleration is a scalar. It's not a force, it's a scalar. A scalar can't do anything. The rate of acceleration is like a velocity. It's not a force, it's a measurement. See how all you have is arguments from ignorance and incredulity. So I said, you can't help but tell everybody it's a force. You're a liar. And of course, he is a liar.
Yeah, you have to say I'm a liar, or at least my apparent stock account is a liar, for two reasons. One, to fit your narrative, and two, because you don't understand Einsteinian or Newtonian concepts. That sounds like your problem. For me, it's an endless source of entertainment.
See, argument for ignorance. Little g is acceleration, it's not a force. I never said it was a force. So what force causes a mass to accelerate downwards when dropped? What you mean apart from helium balloons that go up?
Oh, sweet baby Jesus, that was stupid. Buoyancy proves gravity. It needs it to be a thing.
We know what it is. It's relative density. It's the amount of disequilibrium. That's what governs the vector, the speed, the magnitude, the direction. All of it's controlled by disequilibrium.
Disequilibrium isn't a force. Density isn't a force. And as much as you want it to, none of that word salad explains the acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared everything on Earth experiences at all times. Riley for dumb fuck of the year, guys. It's inevitable.
You've got no answer for it, that's the problem.
No, I do. The answer's the same on both models, but I'm not getting into it. We're trying to satisfy the definition of atmospheric pressure by satisfying the mass part for weight. If you can't satisfy mass for weight, then you don't satisfy the definition for atmospheric pressure, and your model does not do what your model claims it does. So where do we get mass from?
Okay, Newton's first law. All mass is inertial mass. And inside a gravitational field, all mass is gravitational mass.
That's
all
not,
mass is accelerating downwards at 9.81 meters per second.
No, that's not Newton's first law.
Certainly is Newton's first law.
No, it isn't. Newton's first law of motion is an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon by a force, or an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by a force.
Which is quite literally the law of inertia.
That's not the way you worded it. That is not his law. You need to use the words.
The law of... No. That is the law of inertia.
Right. My friend here that's not you talking, and you were asked not to talk because it was supposed to be Gently and I, has incorrectly cited Newton's first law of motion. Newton's first law of motion is an object at rest... Can you stop interrupting, please? You were asked to go on mute. An object at rest remains at rest unless acted upon by a force. An object in motion remains in motion unless acted upon by a force. You did not read that, or you did not cite that when you said Newton's law, first law. What did you say about Newton's first law?
Newton's first law is the law of inertia. Now, if you would like to Google what is the law of inertia, I think you'll find it is Newton's first law.
Newton's first law is not Newton's first law of inertia. It's called Newton's first law of motion, and as I've correctly cited on demand, it is an object in motion will remain in motion, and the same way an object at rest will remain in rest unless acted upon by a force. You have not got your laws of motion correct. Sorry.
And on that bombshell, that's all the stupid I can take for today. But before I go, I want to say a massive thank you to all my patrons. It's thanks to the support and generosity of you guys that I'm able to do this full time, bring you great content, and continue to fight the stupid. Patrons get to vote on what each episode of my series Stupid Humans will be about, early access to some videos, and the chance to come on some live streams. Your support is amazing. To join, go to patreon.com/FTFE. And thank you. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss anything from FTFE. Thank you to Professor Stick for helping me out, and make sure you head over to his channel now to see the second part of our collaboration. Remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth. Fight the flat